if you want to integrate using a SOAP API, we have WSDL file, which plays a major role. So, what is this WSDL? What elements are there in the WSDL? How do you identify each element in the WSDL? So, execution already we have seen. We have just consumed the WSDL file and executed it. But how the WSDL file is generated? What elements will be there in the WSDL file? Let us understand elements clearly. So, first let me create one SOAP API service. With the help of that SOAP API service, we will try to understand the WSDL. We are defining class has to be a global. Strategy. So here I am giving this is the service what I have here. So we have created a SOAP API service. Now this class may be generated in the Java or a .NET or a Salesforce or a PHP or XYZ. Doesn't matter where we have created the service. If you want to share this service, it was supposed to be converted in the form of WSDL file. Now it doesn't matter in which language you generated this service. At the end of the game, if you want to share this service with someone, it has to be generated in the form of WSDL file. Now let us look at this WSDL file. Setup, build, develop, Apex classes. Go to here. SOAP example. What is the option? WSDL. Generate the WSDL. Save as. WSDL. Go to this WSDL file. This WSDL file is saved. This file I am going to share with third party and they are going to consume. So what will be there on this WSDL file? What will be there? So always I told you XML will be version 1.0. Encoding is UTF-8, the default version. The WSDL file, whatever we have, we are minimizing it. Now look at this. At the end of the game, what we have in the WSDL file is this. Whatever the WSDL file that is generated, it is going to have 5 elements. What are the types, message, port type, binding, service. So let any WSDL file you generate the Java or .NET or PHP or Civil or SAP. If you get the WSDL file, if you minimize it, we are going to have types, message, port type, binding, service. These are the 5 elements what we have. So let us start our implementation from the end. Service. Service will tell you what is the name of the class or what is the name of the port. What is the name of the class or what is the name of the port from where we are trying to access the file. Now, this will tell you what is the name of the class, what is the name of the class, what is the name of the class, and what is the URL of the class in which the services are available. name of the class or name of the class URL in which the services are available. Now, how do you refer to this? If you look at the service example, what we have? Port binding. What is the name of the class? SOAP example 1. Is it the class which I generated? Is it the same class which I generated? So what is given? Service class will have, 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 port. In the port we are going to have the name of the class. In the port we are going to have name of the class. SOAP example 1. This is the class which I generated here. And every class is referred using an URL. Every class is referred using a URL. If you look at this, what is the location of this class? ap4.salesforce.com /services/soap/class soap example. If it is a REST API, how did you give? ap4.salesforce.com /services/apex/rest/ the name of the URL mapping, whatever the name you have given as URL mapping. The same one, if you want to refer it in the SOAP, how are you referring? ap4.salesforce.com /services/soap/class soap example. So service will have port, name of the port and the corresponding URL of the port. Service element will have name of the port is the class in which the services are available, name of the port and the corresponding URL. Here the point is, WSDL file in the Salesforce will support only a single port. WSDL file in the Salesforce will support a single port. Now I will give you an example. Can I define two classes in the same program? In the Salesforce, can I create two main classes? There will be only one class, right? Public example, only one class. Inner classes you write. If you write inner class, it will become a part of the element. I cannot define two classes in the single program. You take a Java or other programming language, we can define two classes in a single program. But here only one program we can write. So if there is only one class we can write, one outer class I can write, then automatically how many ports will be there? Only one port. That is the reason the service in the Salesforce WSDL will only support one port. So even the WSDL file, what you are consuming from third-party system, it also should have a single port. Salesforce will support a single port. Salesforce will support a single port. Now come again. What will be there in the services? What is there in the services? What is there in the services? Name of the port, corresponding URL. How many ports I can define? Only one port. Why? Because only one external class will be created. In the Salesforce, we can define only one external class at a time. Okay. Now let us go to the next one. Binding. When you are going for a binding, they are going to ask, boss, what type of binding is this? When you are going for a binding, generally there will be two types of binding: RPC binding and a document style. What are the styles? Document style or RPC style. Now RPC is the old format of the style which nobody is accepting nowadays, which nobody is using. The old format of middleware programming, will be RPC. If you are done any, if you are working on any other technology earlier, you might be knowing this term RPC, remote procedure calls. That is the way in which we used to use integration in the earlier. But now nobody is using the RPC. Currently everybody is going with what? Document. But still, I'll give you. So there are two types of binding. One is RPC style of web service, and the second one is document style. In RPC also we have two more. RPC also we have two styles. Document also we have three styles. Now let us see what are the different styles of bindings we have and how we can use and which one we can use. Now, So look at the format. RPC encoded, RPC literal, document encoded, document literal. Broadly classified as RPC and document. Okay, in that we have subcategories like RPC encoded, RPC literal, document encoded, document literal. The first we will try to understand what is the name of the service we have. Public void my method. The method what we are taking is my method. Name of the method is my method. Int x float y. This is the service which I am providing. This service should be defined in the Visual. Now, if you go to the SOAP API, look at the format. If you go to the SOAP API, what is the name of the method? My method. Int x float y. Look at the format. If you are sending a message, generally HTTP request you are sending. When you are sending a HTTP request, what will be there? Header will be there, body will be there. Am I right? Similarly, when you are sending a SOAP message, envelope, header, body. So let us understand first what is the format of SOAP message. If you understand the format of SOAP message, then we will understand what is this document style. So this is how the SOAP message is. Generally, SOAP message is going to be SOAP envelope, which is outer element. In the envelope, we have SOAP header, SOAP body. So we have SOAP envelope header, SOAP envelope body. In the body, we are going to also have fault, error message. So basically, envelope, header, body, fault. So envelope will have is outer element. This is outer element. XML, if your XML file is there, if we want to identify that is a SOAP message, by looking at the SOAP envelope, we identify it is a SOAP message. In the SOAP message, what we have? Header we have body. Just like your HTTP request. In the REST API, how did you transfer your message? HTTP request, header, blank, body. In similar way, SOAP we are giving envelope, header, blank, body. In the body we have fault message. Right, boss? This is how we are giving. So looking at this XML message, look at this. SOAP envelope, SOAP header, SOAP body. SOAP envelope, SOAP header, SOAP body. SOAP envelope, SOAP header, SOAP body. I hope you are good with this basic structure. Boss. Okay. Now try to understand this point. Now come back to this. Here also we had a SOAP envelope, SOAP body. Whatever the data we want to transfer, that will be there in the body. Whatever the data we want to transfer, that will be there in the body. Now look at this. What is the method you are calling here now? My method. When you say my method, it clearly says name of the method, what is the input, what is the output. What is the input, what is the output. Now if you are going for a binding as a RPC, if you say binding as RPC method, what is the name of the method? My method. What is the name of the method? My method. Now x, what is the parameter we are giving? X. X is of type what? Integer. Y is of type what? Float. Then method. So by looking at the body, I can say method name is my method. We are passing two parameters, x and y. X is integer, y is float. So straight away they are saying what elements you are passing, what is the data type of this element. In the RPC format, they straight away say, looking at the body of the message, we can say what is the name of the method, what parameters you are passing, type of parameters you are passing. So that's the advantage of going for this one. What was this? Look at this. My method x and y. So straight away I can understand from here. Method name is my method, x is integer, y is a float. So in the element itself, we are saying what type of element is this. Now what is the drawback of this? What is the advantage of it? What is the drawback of this? Advantage of this is within the is easy for the system to understand what it is. Easy for the system to understand what type of method, what type of parameters are passing. Drawback is we are mentioning the element within the body, so length of the body is increasing. So what did I do? Type of encoding information, XSI type integer. So I am mentioning type is integer in the message itself. I am mentioning type equal to integer in the message itself. Because of this, overheads are increasing. Because of this, what is happening? The overheads. If overheads are increasing, the size of the message will be more. Okay. Then we cannot easily validate this type of data. The validation will be done, but it's not okay. We cannot make a so comfort zone as other format. So validation will be a difficult part here. We cannot, when you say validation, what is the maximum length of x I can enter? What is the minimum length of x I can enter? What is the format of x value? Do you have any specific format? Okay. Now you want to say it should lie between 0 to 10. It should be the form of capital A, capital letter starting with capital letter, ending with small letter. I cannot verify the format of the data. I cannot apply validation. Limits I cannot apply. Validation I cannot apply. So it doesn't mean that you cannot apply. It will be a complex process here. Applying the validation will be a complex process here. But easy for system to understand. It is easy for the system to understand, but difficult for the developers to write. Right. The same, we are going with the RPC literal. When is the RPC literal? Go to the message. When you go to RPC literal, what is changing here? In the message, straight away values we are giving in the part name x type equal to integer. Look at this. Part x integer. So what is the difference you are finding between these two messages? First message, XSI type integer value. What is the second one we are taking? Literal format is? What is the literal format? The types we are not mentioning here. The types we are not mentioning here. If you look at this, name x type XSD integer. Right. So this is not changing. The visual is not changing. Visual is same in both the cases. Look at the visual. Look at the visual. My method. Look at the visual. Even in the second visual also, look at the second visual. Visual is same. Binding style is different. If it is a binding style is different, in the body message format is going to be different. Right. Now it is a straightforward operation. Okay. The same style, but overheads are removed. Okay. Overheads are removed. What is that? XSD type integer that is removed. Okay. Same. What was the format here? In the RPC, applying the validation is difficult. And the RPC, applying the validation is a difficult format. Okay. So I hope you are good with this. So looking at the RPC encoding, straight away method name, what parameters you are passing, what values you are passing. If I go to the document style, they say document encoded literal. Document encoded is outdated, nobody is using it. Okay. What we are using right now is a document literal wrapped file. Document literal or document literal wrapped. These two structures people are using. When you go to document literal, here we don't mention the element type straight away. We say X of type A, Y of type B. What is A? The meaning of A is defining schema. We will take a schema element, schema structure. Previously, people used to use the DTD operations. DTD they used to. Now we are using schemas. Okay. So they say X is of type A, Y is of type B. What is A? In the schema, I will define A means integer, B means decimal. A means integer, B means decimal. In the body, I am going to say, boss, the definition of these X and Y are defined in schema. Go to schema and find out. Now look at this. Here I am saying schema schema, no DDD. Schema element, X element, type is integer. Y element, type is float. Now, if you want to know, this is how we are defining. Name X is of type X element, Y is of type Y element. What is that X element? Go to schema. In the schema, you will find out. What is that Y? Go to schema. In the schema, you will find out. So the definition and type of the elements are not straight away mentioned in the element. They are defined in the schema. So if you want to know what is it, you have to go to the schema. Look at the body. Soap body. Soap body. Now, is it giving the method name here? Now, are you straight away getting? Now, what is that X element? X element means go to schema, find out what is X element. Now, it will tell you it is an integer in the type method. Y element, go there and find out. Right. So, what was? It is not straight away. RPC, if you look at the RPC, we know clearly this is the method, this is the parameter, this is the value. But if you go to this document, we cannot straight away find out. Okay. We need to go to schema and identify. Okay. But it has advantage. We can apply the limits, we can apply the validation, we can apply the formats. Now, we can apply structures. Validation, formatting will be very easy here. Applying the validations, format will be very easier. Look at this. This XML validator is very easy here. But what is the weakness? It is not straight away. Now, do you know which method is this? Looking at the body, can you tell which method is this? You cannot tell. So, operation method name is last. Operation name is supersede is last. Right. I hope you are good with this. Right. Now, document literal wrapped. This is actual format which everybody is using now. This is the actual format that everybody is using. Okay. Now, advanced format. This is the format. Now, they will tell you are passing two parameters. Which one has to be first element? Should it be X be a first element or Y be a first element? You have to mention that also. Now, I told you are taking two parameters. Which one should be the first? X and Y or Y and X? So, now the current format what the people are using is document literal wrapped style. Document literal wrapped style, where everything is mentioned in the schema. I will explain what is the sequence type and all this stuff in the schema. If you look at this, my method. Now, you got the basic difference between document and RPC. RPC will have method name and type of element is mentioned, whereas the document will not have method name and it's not straight away mentioned. Type of element is not straight away mentioned. It is defined in the schema. You have to go to schema and find out. Is that is clear? What is that schema? We'll discuss further point. Okay. Now, I hope you are good. Clear for everyone? So, how many styles are there? RPC, document. What is the current style that Salesforce is supporting? Salesforce only support document literal wrapped style only. Salesforce will support only document literal wrapped style only. Any other style if we give, it is not going to support. Salesforce is going to support document literal wrapped style only. Salesforce is going to support document literal wrapped style only. Again, I repeat, Salesforce is going to support only document literal wrapped style only. I hope you are good with this. Right, boss? Okay. So, where did we stuck up? So, in the binding, they asked, what is the style of binding? And what is the transportation we are using? Internally, we are using HTTP. It is a SOAP, but internally, transportation is using only HTTP only. There, in the REST API, straight away we are using HTTP URL making it. Here we are calling it SOAP. SOAP is generally using HTTP protocol. What is the transport? HTTP protocol. Okay. Now, the binding will tell what is the name of the method. Binding will tell style of the service, which is binding we are using, what type of transportation we are using. Binding will tell what is the style we are using, what type of transportation we are using. Now, what is the method I gave? I gave only one method. What is the name of the method? Call me. So, operation name, call me, input header, output header. So, look at this. Operation name, call me. Operation name, call me. In the header, they are passing session header, call option, all this stuff. In the body, parameters. Body has parameter. Header, body. So operation name, header, body. Operation name, header, body. Okay, in the input parameter. Similarly, output parameter, header, body. Header, body. Binding, operation name, input, header, body. Output, header, body. That's what they are giving. Now look at this message. Now you get clear idea what they gave. Line number 154. What is the style of binding? Line number 155, name of the method. Line number 156, name of the method. Line number 157, input. Line number 158, 159, 160, 161, header. 162, body. Input close. Now line number 164, output. Line number 165, header. 166, body. Now we got operation, binding, style, operation, input, header and body, output, header and body. What are there? It's not mentioned. What are there in header? What are there in body? It is not mentioned. They only say header message, body message. I hope you followed this point. Right? Clear? Then a port type. The next one what we have is port type. Port type is like an interface. It will mention you what are the list of methods, what are list of services, what are offered by the web service. Port type is like a abstract class or interface. In the interface, what will be given? Interface list of methods and their parameters. It will not define the body. It only mention list of services what are offered. Port type is also going to provide list of service names what we are offering. Port type is also going to provide list of services what we are going to offer. List of service names what we are going to offer. Port type operation is call me. We have input message, output message. Input message, output message. Input message is request, output message is response. Port type will have list of all the service names with the corresponding input and output messages. Okay. The next we have message. For every port type, there will be one input message, one request message, one response message. If the name of the operation is call me, we have call me request message, call me response message. Input request message, output message. Input is method name request, output is method name response. So two messages will be there for every point. Now in this message, they are calling call me request. We are passing parameters. Call me response. Here also we are going to get a parameter. Input parameters, output parameters. Message will take all the inputs as one single message. Whatever the parameters you are passing, all of them are taken as a single message. Now we have to divide every element in the message and see this element is of this type. This element is of this type. So when you say message, all the input parameters are taken as one message. All the output parameters are taken as one message. Now in that message, what all the elements are there we have to mention. That is given by type. That is given by type. That is given by type. What is this type? Type will tell what type of element we are using. Look at this. What is our message? Element session header, session ID. Call me. In the call me element, what we are finding here? Name, string. Phone, string. What is the response we are getting? Result, string. Right? So type will tell type of elements used. Message will tell messages for the port type. Port type will tell list of services. Binding will tell style of binding and transportation. Service will tell port name and the corresponding URL. I hope you are good with this. Okay. So before I go further, I will also explain one more element like schema. Then we'll come back to this so that we get proper idea of what is the register. So what is that schema? How it is used? I'll not make it complex. I'll make it as simple as possible from my end. So what is the best scripting site? Simplified scripting site. W3 schools. I guess we have right. Now in the schema, previously people used to use a DTD operation, self-describing. There only limited data types are given, we are supposed to use the 4 or 5 elements what we have. Building blocks. Elements, attribute, PC data, CD data. Only we are supposed to build everything with these two only. Limited data types. When you go for schema, it is self-describing. We can make it as simple as possible. So when you are going for schema, now when you go for schema, the schema namespace. Now, what is the schema namespace? I told you when you are going for a namespace. Now, if I want to mention the name, look at the point. I have this is what I get. Now, when you look at this, if I am calling a name, what is the meaning of this name? There are two names. If you look at the element called name in a student, it has the name of the student, first name and last name. If you look at the name in the employee, it is the name of the company. So when I call a name, what is that name? Is it a name of a person? Is it a name of a company? What is the length of it? Do you have any specific format? How do you know? This is ambiguity. There is a reason we are defining namespace. Noting here, definition of name, amount is given. So name is last name, first name, amount is 5 digits. Okay, it should be a numerical format. I have defined. Now, if I want to define, I have to give in satishmala.in colon why the meaning of this name is defined in that namespace. Now, if I have to write like this, it is becoming lengthy for me. So I told instead of this, I'll use a shortcut CS or CA capital. Now, what I will be doing? C colon. Now, what does it mean? The definition of this last name, the definition of this first name is available in the name service called satishmala.in. Instead of defining https www.satishmala.in colon name, we are using this. Similarly, for employee also I am going to give this. Now, same story apply here. Whatever the definition of this schema is there, that is defined by all the definitions are defined in W3R dot w3org/2001. Now when I say name called element, sequence, complex type, okay, complex type, all these definitions are mentioned where w3org. That w3org is referred from now as XS. XML namespace XS. Instead of referring that w3.org/2001 XML schema, we are using XS. Now, whenever I say XS, the definition of element is mentioned in that namespace. Definition of sequence is mentioned in the namespace. Complex type is mentioned in the namespace. I hope you are good with this. People have followed. That's how the XS is coming. So remove that XS now. What is that element? Complex type. See, okay, sequence. These are the attributes what are actually there. Did you follow my point? Did you follow? What is the meaning of element? That is in w3org. What is the meaning of complex type? It is in w3org. What is the meaning of sequence? w3org. Okay. Now, so when you're going to this, let us understand. So easy to describe document, whereas there in DTD we have fixed two formats are there. Only we are supposed to use it. But here we can define different set of data types. Now I have to give here elements. So elements, there will be two types of elements among. One is simple, other one is complex. One is simple, other one is complex. Simple element will contain only text. It will not contain any other elements or attributes. Now you are given element, name, type. Now if you are defining simple element, name of the element, type of the element. Name of the element, type of the element. Simple name of the element, type of the element, it is a simple element. In case if you have a chain elements or if you define any attributes for the elements, that is called complex element. If you only define element and type, simple. If you have a chain element or attributes, it is a complex. As simple as that. As simple as that. What are the data types we have? String, decimal, integer, boolean, date, time. It is a fixed, not only from me. Whoever is following w3org 2001 model, they have the same data types. Whoever is following w3org 2001 model, they have the same data types. What are they? String, decimal, integer, boolean, date, time. Okay. Now look at this. Now last name. Element is last name, type is string, element is age, type is integer, element is a date bond, type is date. That's what they have mentioned. XS element, name is last name, type is string. Element age, type is integer. Element name, type is. So if you have chain elements or attributes, that is a complex. If you have only element name, type. Are you getting my point? Okay. Now, if you want to give default values, we can apply a default values. We can give a default values, we can give a fixed values, whatever you want, you can do it. So if you want to define attributes, what is these attributes? By now you are already using Lightning, right? Most of you are coming to Lightning classes. How are you defining a component? Component, attribute 1, 2, 3. If you only define a component without any sub-elements or attributes, it is simple. But a component is what? Complex element. For the component, we are giving attributes. Now type name, okay, element type, element name, type complex. In between what we are taking? Attribute. First name, attribute, last name. Now we are trying to take attributes. Look at the format of defining attribute. Name of the attribute, type of the attribute. Now let us take one example here. Name of the attribute, type of the attribute. Now similarly, if you want to apply any restrictions or validations, I told you in the DTD applying the validation is complex. Now look at this format. What is the name of the element? Age. Now for this element, what we are doing? What type of element is this? Simple, because age doesn't have any chain elements. Age doesn't have any attributes. Only we have element called age. But for this element called age, we are giving a restriction. Type is integer, minimum value is 0, maximum value is 120. So when you are defining an element, we can give a restrictions and validations. Easy for me to pass. We can apply the restrictions and formats. So simple type, complex type. There will be two types of elements called simple type and complex type. Simple type will have only name and type. If you want, you can apply restrictions and formats. But when you go to complex type, it will have attributes or chain elements. So let me give right. So elements are two types, simple and complex. In the complex element, what we have? Empty elements, elements that contain only other elements, elements that contain only text, elements that contain both other elements and text. Okay. Now let us see. Now look at this. It is an element, but it has an attribute called PA. It is an element, but it contains an attribute called PA. It is an element which contain chain elements, which contain chain elements. It is an element which contain attribute. Look at the formula. External element product with which is empty. No value is there, but it has an attribute. Element is there with the attribute, but no value. Example, tell me. You have section header, title, subtitle, help, but there is no body for section header. Command button. In the command button, we have value, action. No body for this. They are what? Element with empty. They are element, complex element with empty body. Complex element with empty body. Body, nothing is defined in the body. Element has attribute but no body. It's called empty elements. The next we have complex element, element which contain other element. Element which contain other element but there is no attributes. Element contain only other elements but there is no attribute. Tell me an example of this. Apex form. Apex form, in the form we have input text, output text, page block and everything. So that Apex form, no attributes. For Apex form, we are not giving any attributes. Apex form, no attributes. Straight away Apex form, within that we are giving input text, output text, page block and everything. No attributes we are applying. So element which contain other element without attributes. First one, element contain only attributes, no body. Second one, element contain chain elements, no attributes. Now third element, it contain attributes and text. Attributes and text means body. It contains attributes and text. It contains attributes and text. Now food type is attribute. Ice cream is body. No chain elements. It doesn't have chain elements. It have attributes with body as text. Attributes with the body as text. No chain elements. Attributes, body as text. No chain elements. Fourth one, everything is available. Now we have a description, date, attribute, body. I hope looking at this we got at the end of the game, if you define an attribute, it is a chain, it is a complex. If you define a chain elements, it is a complex. As simple as that. Now J into 60 marks answer, they can write this. Okay. But as per us, if you have an attribute or if you have chain, it is a complex. As simple as that. Okay. Now they are given again. Further examples are given. Okay. What was that? Element type is what? Person. What type of element is this? Complex element. Why it is called complex? It has two. Element name is person, complex type. In the complex type, what elements are given? First name and last name. So complex type sequence. First name, last name. First name is element, type is text. First name is element, type is text. Last name is element, type is text. So in the sequence, what we have? Two simple elements. Now person is a complex element which has two chain elements. So person, complex type, sequence we are giving. Now how will you define this? Tell me. First element name letter. Then that we have name John Smith. We have name, order ID, ship date. Name, order ID, ship date. Now what is it? Complex. Type is complex. Sequence, name, order ID, ship date. Name, order ID, ship date. The other text data is there. It's called defined as mixed. Now what are these indicators? You want to all choice sequence. Maximum time occurrence, minimum time occurrence. So we can define this. It is mandatory that everything should be entered. We have a choice to enter or not. We have to enter in a sequence. All the elements should be entered. choice, you have a choice, sequence, maximum occurrence, minimum occurrence. Always it's mandatory. Choice, you have a choice to choose. Your choice to choose. So at the end of the game, by looking at this, basic structure is clear for us, right? Look at the point. Now I'll come back to the point. You will understand. Whatever you learn is more than sufficient. Look at the point. Element name, session header. Complex type. Sequence, session ID. Right. Element type, symbol type. Name equal to ID. But we have restriction. What is the restriction? ID should contain alphabets. 18 character ID should be formed with a combination of alphabets and digits. They have ID, symbol type. No child elements, no attributes. But they have a restriction, validation. What is that? It should only be a combination of alphabets, small, capital, and digits. Now we have, okay, element. Where is the next element we had? Extension. Element call me. What was that? Call me element has two parameters. So call me complex type, sequence, name and phone. Name and phone. Right? So what is this definition? This is schema definition. Saying a simple type or a complex type. If you want to apply any restriction, if you want to say sequence or all or choice, restrictions, sequence or choice or minimum occurrence or maximum occurrence. So basically, whatever that is defined in the top one, whatever you are finding here on the top, it is what? This will define type of elements we are using in this web service. In the web service, what type of elements are we are using? Whether they are simple, or if it is a simple, what type of data type is this? Complex, what are the chain elements? What are the data types? All the wrapper classes will be complex. All the methods will be complex. So now come back to the definition now. Come back to the definition. So look at that. I'll be using XXD, which is W3 org. I'll be using org. I'll be using soap. The definition, wherever I'm using a soap, the meaning of this is defined here. Wherever I'm using TNS, definition is defined here. At the end of the game, finally, target namespace is important to us. Because in this element, all this will be used. So what is the target namespace? Soap example 1. Soap example 1. Where are my elements defined? Soap example 1. Finally, what is important to us? Target namespace. You may have number of namespace. In that, what is the class in which we are defining a service? There is a target namespace. Okay. I hope basic structure what you require is clear for everyone. So what are the elements of visual file? Tell me. We have service. In the service we have port. In the service we have port. In the service we have a port. Next we have binding. Type of binding. What is that? RPC or document. What is supported by Salesforce? Document, literal, wrapped file. Port type is like interface, which will give you list of services what we have. Then message, for every operation there are two messages. Type will specify what type of elements we are using and what is the definition. It is a schema part. It is basically we call it as a schema part. Okay. I hope you are good. Clear? Now I guess the last class we have consumed some SOAP visual file, SAP, and we have seen some visual files. Now what I will do, I will consume some third-party visual files and we will see what type of errors we encounter. Successful program already we have done. Okay. Now we'll try to consume errors, the files which I have given errors. Okay. So look at this. Generate from. Choose the file. Now I'll give first the RPC visual. I am copying one of the visual file. Now what happened? Failed to parse unsupported visual style called RPC. Only supports a document literal. So if some third party people are giving RPC format, Salesforce will not support. It has to be supported in the form of document literal wrapped. Now do you have any choice to convert? Yes. There are some, okay, SOAP UI. The SOAP UI tools are there. If you use the SOAP UI tool, it will convert. But it's not a good practice to convert from our end. When you are converting, there may be a possibility of loss of data. That's the reason we request the service provider to provide the data in the form of document literal. Now, if we reluctant to convert, we can convert it. But from our end, it is not a good idea to convert from our side and use it. There may be, in case if there is any loss of data, we have to we have to face the issue. That's the reason we request them to provide the visual file in the form of document wrapped literal wrapped file. If they are not ready to convert, we have a tools like SOAP UI tools. Third-party tools are there. If you give RPC, they'll convert into literal file and give. Because the schema definition has to be generated. The problem here is the schema definition has to be generated. Okay. The next I'll go with other visual files. Okay. I'm giving error files. Target namespace not specified in the visual definition. Now, whatever the web service main class was there, that was not mentioned. The definition of the schema. So, in the server side, that is not mentioned. So, probably I might have taken a local host. When I take a local host, it will consider my system as a local host, not the server. Generally, when you're practicing, what you do, you'll run it Tomcat or something, you'll run it, generate the file. How the URL will come? Local host. When you use a local host, it will take the Salesforce server as a local host. Then the Salesforce server, if the class will not be available, that is the reason it's throwing error message. Right? So it should be live URLs. Then I'll go with the Jira visual file. What was it? Attribute name cannot be null. So they have given attributes, but the name of the attribute they have given as null. If you are mentioning an attribute, name cannot be null, value can be null. Okay, but you are taking attribute name should be given. It's a required field. So here, what was that? Schema type is not well defined. Schema type not well defined. Look at the errors what we are encountering. If somebody asks you, tell me the list of errors what you encountered. One is RPC not supported. Second one is target namespace not defined because of the local host. Third one, attribute cannot be null because attributes if you are defining, name should be a must. Then I'm going for, I'll give you actually, I guess I have error files. So it's a .NET file. .NET file. I consumed it. What is the class we received? Global weather. The file is successful. We get it. What is the outer class we received? What is the inner class? Global weather SOAP. Now, what is the method name here? Now, did they give any header? Look at this. In the document, are you finding any header? They're not finding any header. So, they're not expecting any authentication data from you. They're not expecting any authentication data. In the method also, they're not asking any authentication data. There is no header element also. So, it is an open URL. It is an open URL. Now, how do you call? Class, inner class, object dot get weather of city name and country name if you give, we are going to get this. Once it is consumed, it is only class, right? Create a object dot inner class method. Whatever the data you want to pass, you pass it. Once it is consumed, there is no issue. We can straight away. Only problem is till it is converted into class. Once it is converted into class, it is object dot method. So let me go back again. Then I will take visual file, currency converter. It is also one of the .NET file. Now, what was that? Are you finding any header element? No header element. In the method, are you expecting any login data? No. So it is also open file. So what was that? Currency converter SOAP dot corresponding object dot conversion rate. If you give from which currency to which currency, they will give the currency format. We will use it. I hope once it is created, you know how to call it, right? Once this is created, you know how to call it. Are you clear about it? Once this is created, outer class dot inner class, object equal to outer class dot inner class, object dot mother name. So let me try with another files. I will also consume Cbel visual file. I have some Cbel files, Cbel order management file or service request. Service request in the Cbel. They gave visual file, we got it. So now the issue here, how do you know which will be the main class? Now look at this, a lot of classes are coming. A lot of classes are coming. How do you know in which class my service is available? All these are what? Wrapper classes used in the request. Now what should I do? How do I know what is the main class for me? There will be only one class in which mothers will be there. Rest of the classes will contain only wrapper class data. This is the class. This class what they asked? Service request. Now what they gave? Local host. Now they are expecting parameters here. They are expecting a parameters. Here I was supposed to give my data. Okay. If you want to pass any parameter in the URL, where will you put? If you want to pass any parameter in the URL, what is the format of putting? You are supposed to put in input header. If you want to pass any parameter in the URL, we are supposed to put in input header. Now, if you have header element, look at the point. Do you have any header element here? No header element is there. If header element is there, then I was supposed to put my credentials in the header. Now, otherwise, if you want to pass the data in the body, in the method, they will ask you to pass the authentication data. No, in the URL, if they are asking me to pass, then I will put it in input header. There are only three choices, boss. If they are asking you to pass the data in the URL, put them in input header. If they are asking you to pass the data in the header, there will be header element. Put the data in header element, use it. No, if they are asking you to pass the authentication data in the body, in the method, they are asking as a parameter. If in the method, if they are asking you to pass the parameter, login data as a parameter, it is a body request. If they are asking you to put the login data, login credential data in the header, then there will be a session header element. We are supposed to put the element. No, they are asking you to pass the data in the URL, then it will be input header. You got three possibilities. When you are making a request, your authentication data may be in header or a body or URL. Three possibilities only. Header, body or URL. Header means session header element will be there. We are going to put the element. Okay. Second, body means in the method they are asking you to pass like a parameter. Will be passing. Third one is URL. If they are asking you to pass in the URL, I'll put it in input header. Right? These are the three formats. Now this is the Cbel visual file. How do you call this? Service request delete. Now these are the parameters what you are supposed to pass. What are these wrapper classes? What are the elements are there in the wrapper class? Go to the class, visual file, check out what elements are there, pass it. Once you consumed, corresponding classes came, right? Go to the class, identify in the class what elements are there, create an object and pass it. Okay. Are you getting my point? So in how many ways we can pass the data in the SOAP? Right. People have executed AWS example. If you execute AWS example, whatever I am explaining now will follow. Right. I told you are supposed to pass the authentication data in the header or body or in the URL. If you remember well, what is the example I have done for the AWS? People want to learn everything by watching only. No implementations. This is the class what is generated. Now, add a person. In the add a person, here they are not asking for any authentication. In the method, they are not giving any authentication. But we have here, what was it? Header element. What we have? Header element. We are expecting you to pass the data in the method. In the method, we have to pass like a parameter, or we have to pass the authentication data in the header element or in the URL. In this case, in the method, we are not passing. So where I am passing? In the header element. In the header element, what is this Amazon example header element? What is this header element? They are asking you to pass user ID, password. Right? This request is called HTTP request is called SOAP API request with authentication, where authentication data is in header. Now look at the next one. We have one more request. Update the person. Here also we are not passing any data in the method. We are passing the authentication data in header only. Amazon example login. Here I am passing authentication data in the method as a login. Now what is there in the login class? Scroll down. Name and password. My authentication data I am putting in the login. So what they are expecting here? They are asking you to pass a method called login. They are expecting you to pass the authentication data like login. So in the login, what is there? My login credentials are there. I am passing my data in the method as a parameter. This is what SOAP request with authentication data in body. Authentication data in body. Previous example, authentication data in header. Here, authentication data is in body. If it is not in the body, there will be a header. I have to pass either in the body or header. In the body, if they are asking you to pass like a parameter, I will pass it. Or else I have to put the authentication data in header element and pass it. Okay. Third one, if they are expecting any parameters in the URL, now look at this. In the URL, here person svc / name so and so, age so and so. If they ask me to pass the input parameter, where should I put? Endpoint / they are requesting any data from me, then I have to put it in input header. Right, boss? I hope you are good. Clear? Clear for everyone? People have followed this. Followed. So in how many ways we can provide the authentication data? In header, in body. Generally header and body. Now what is the other way of passing the data? URL. If any data they are expecting in the URL, where will you put? Input header. Right? I hope you are good. If it is a header, generally we get header element, where I am going to have authentication data. In the method means like a parameter they will ask you to pass. So how do you, what elements are there in visual file? Services, types, services, binding, port type, message, types, 5 elements. Now what is the format of SOAP message? Envelope, header, body, fault. Envelope, header, body, fault. I hope you are good. People are good with this? Clear? Okay. What are the common errors what you encountered? What type of errors you have encountered? What are the types of errors you have encountered? We have encountered the errors like unsupported style unsupported the binding style. Then there is more than one port in the visual file. Now type cannot be independent. Every element in the type should be a child of any one of the class. We cannot define independent type element. Every element in the type should be a part of any one of the input and output wrapper classes. You cannot define type. So in the Java, we can define the types independently. Elements in the type we can define separately. It is not a part of any class. We can pass an independent value, but here it is not supported. So schema import errors. Now we are using a schema. The schema is calling another schema which is not like schema import errors are there. Unstructured visual files, unstructured visual files, unstructured visual files. Attribute name cannot be null. RPC is not supported. Multiple ports not supported. Okay, individual independent types are not allowed. Independent types are not allowed. Not well formed. These are the common errors what we encounter. Right? I hope you are good. Good with this. Followed. So the next example. Generally, when you say web service, SOAP API, instead of covering all these topics, the people will cover you. The people will cover you partner visual file. You generally take any integration classes, people generally cover partner visual file and close it up. Now we'll also see what is that partner visual file. Now, why I have not covered the partner visual file is we are a service provider. Then no need to execute partner visual file. Partner visual file should be executed by third party people. If you are a service consumer, somebody is giving, then I will consume it. Getting my point here? Right. So because everybody is covering, I am also covering this example. What was that? Partner visual file. Practically, you will not be using in Salesforce, as Salesforce will generate partner visual file. Now, other party, Java people, .NET people should understand how to consume. It's not we. Because we are a provider. Simply generate a visual file, give to them, they will use it. Right. Let me go back. Only for the sake of information I am covering, it will be of no use. I am making very clear. As people should not feel that I didn't cover partner visual, I am covering. It's of no use. Okay. Now, partner visual file, enterprise visual file. First, let me go with the partner visual file. Setup, build, develop, APIs. We have visual files. Then what we are generating? Partner visual file. Generate partner visual file. Once again, build, develop, API, partner visual file, generate visual file. So we got the partner visual file, save as. So visual file is here. Now 316 account has given the partner visual file where I want to consume it. There will be some common errors because we are consuming Salesforce file in the Salesforce. We are consuming Salesforce partner visual file in the Salesforce. There will be some errors here. I have to rectify it. What are the errors? Control F. There will be any type. Salesforce will not support any type. It has to clearly specify what type is this. Replace any type with the. So replace. There are 4 occurrences. All of them are replaced. Right. First I have replaced. Then go to your integration account. Set up, build, develop, Apex classes, generate from this. Right. I give a digital file and I'm taking here. Generate. Now they gave a digital file. I rectified the errors. Then I consumed it. Once I consumed it, this is the file which is generated. Okay. Now I consumed it. I got the files. Now the point is, when you have taken this, how do you know in which class the services are available? They gave a visual file. I consumed it. I got some classes. Now we already know definitions. This is the main class, right? Service. In the service class, what is the main class? The class in which web services are defined. The class is defined as a port. What is the name of the port class? So your required methods are defined in the class called SOAP. Your required methods are defined in a class called SOAP. So what I'm doing? Go to the developer console. This is the class what we generated. The class what is the class here? SOAP. In the SOAP class, we want to using this class. There are a lot of methods. You want to get the data. So what is the data you want to get? There is a method called login, checkout, login method. They're asking you to pass username. You pass username, password, what they're giving? Login. In the login result, they're giving session ID. This method is not giving login to you. This method is returning you session ID. That session ID I was supposed to put in header. As per this logic, if you give username, password and make a request, they are giving a session ID. This session ID I have to make it in a header element, then I have to request a service. This method is giving what? Username, password. If you give, they are giving a session ID. I am passing username, password, they are going to give you session ID. So let me give you execution of this program. Very simplified example. Partner. So then I gave demo dot login result equal to what is the method? ps dot login then the problem is in the debug console you cannot print a session ID. They have removed that option to printing a session ID in the debug console. So what I was doing, they gave a outer class, inner class name is soap. In the soap class they gave a method called login. They told if you pass username password you will be able to print. If you pass username password we will be getting what? They told if you pass username password I will give a session ID. They gave a session ID. This is connected to the arc getting a session ID. Are you clear? So partner visitor file they gave, we consumed the partner visitor file, we got a class called soap. In the soap class what we have? Login method is there. In the login method if you pass username password, they are giving session ID. I received session ID. This is the first step. I hope everybody is good. Any difficulty in that? They gave a partner visual file. Before consuming, I told we'll get an error called any type. So I replaced any type with a string. Then I consumed it. We got a classes. In that classes, one of the class will have soap inner class. Then outer class dot soap object equal to outer class dot soap. Then object dot login username password. Object dot login username password. I got session ID. Why I cannot print a session ID directly? The debug console, now the Salesforce removed printing of session ID in the VF page or this, we can directly print the session ID. They removed that option. So that's the reason what I have done. I took like a string, I reversed the string, now it has become a string. Instead of session ID, it has become a string now. I printed that string. Right? This is done. Using this session ID, I have to make a request to that org, get the data. Using this session ID, I have to make a request to that org, get the data. How will you get the data? Look at this. File. This is my service. Now, what this person is doing? I want to give this service. How will you give? Setup, build, develop, Apex classes, soap example. Previously, this person gave you partner visual file. Now he is also giving a service file. Now, save as. service. Now, this organization who is consuming the partner visual file, what these people are doing? Setup, build, develop Apex classes, generate from visual file, choose the file, so for example visual, this is the class which is created. Now, try to understand. This is the class what is generated. In this class, what is the method we want to call? SOAP example. In this, I want to call a method called call me. Now they told boss, if you want to call this method, you have to authenticate yourself. Now if I want to authenticate myself, are they asking any credential here? They are not asking any credential. Then where they are asking me to pass? They told I have session header element. In this you pass the credentials. Okay, what is there in the session header element? Session element. They are asking boss, first authenticate yourself, get the session ID. Whatever the session ID you got it, pass the session ID. If you want to call this service, first you should have session ID. Whatever the session ID is there, put that session ID in session header. So they ask me to pass session ID in the header, then make a request to this. Previously, they told if you want an access, call the method with username password. But here what they are saying, if you want to call this method, put your session ID in the header. How will I get session ID? First I have to get a session ID, then only I can put it. How will you get session ID? First I have to make a request to the org and get the session ID. How will you do that? Partner visual file. When I consume the partner visual file using a login method, I will make a request to 316 org. They will get a session ID. Whatever the session ID I got, I will pass here. Did you get my point? So let me execute this and show you. First, what is the first point I have to do? Generate session ID. This will generate what? Session ID. Okay. Then I was supposed to execute service. What is the service I have? Admin 316 dot. Then outer class dot inner class. Now what is your requirement? My requirement is AP dot call me. This is my request. But before I make a call to this, you are supposed to pass the session ID. Where you are supposed to pass? So AP dot first create an object for that class. Then AP dot session ID equal to whatever the session I generated here, that I was assigning. Now why did I create this object? It is a class of session header. This is a class. This is an object. If I want to use this, what should I do? First allocate the memory. Session header equal to new session header element. Then session header dot session ID equal to whatever the session ID we got it here. Once I pass the session ID, how I am passing the authentication? I am putting the authentication data in the header. Then I am calling call me method. I want to print it. System.debug. Duplicate field result. Okay. Execute. Result of sum of a value 10, b value 12 is 20. Okay. So what did I do? I have clearly mentioned step-by-step procedure here. In the documentation, I have mentioned step-by-step procedure. First, organization 1, ICAC application. Create account call out SOAP API web service. In this, what did I do? I created a web service. Then generate a visual file for the Apex class. I use the navigation. I generated the visual file. I saved it. Then generate partner visual file. So in the same organization, I have to generate a partner visual file. I have to generate a visual file for the SOAP API service what we created. Now create a new user with username, password. Then generate security token. Because I have open API, security token is not asked. But outside means username plus password plus security token. Then share the following credentials. What are the credentials I have to give? Visual file of the service, partner visual file, username, password, and security token. Now this is given by source. Now who is the source? Salesforce. Who is the source? Salesforce. This is consumed by third party. In this example, both the systems I have taken as Salesforce only. Okay. Then service consumer. Log into service consumer. So log into this organization. After logging into this organization, generate Apex classes. Set up, build, develop Apex class, generate from visual file. Choose the partner visual file, click on parse, change the class name. Partner example, partner SOAP, partner demo I give, save it. Then whatever the middle class you are giving, that class will become the main class here. Now public class, partner SOAP class, login result class. In the SOAP class, what we have? So finally, we got lot of things. What we require? We require only SOAP class with the login method. So this is the partner SOAP class SOAP in which I have login method. Result is login result. In the login result, what we have? Session ID. We can use this class and generate a session ID. Partner SOAP.SOAP sp equal to new partner.SOAP. Then username, password, session ID is generated. Then generate the Apex class from account call out visual file. Set up, build, develop Apex classes, generate the visual file. Now we got external call, account call, session header element, and create. What should I do? What should I do? First, we are supposed to assign whatever the session ID we got in the above, that should be assigned to this. What did you do? External call session header element equal to new header element dot session ID equal to the session ID. Then we are putting this object to that object. Then invoke the service. How we invoke the service? Whatever the mother name is there, that mother name we are calling it. I hope you are good with this. Clear for everyone? Have you followed this example? Follow this example. use this, try to understand the class. Tomorrow, if people can connect with the, probably I require 1 more hour. I'll be covering some streaming API and some basic information I'll be covering. I may require 1 more hour to cover this. Okay, with that we'll be winding the batch. And so you people can join tomorrow with the online. No need to come to the class. You can connect directly through online.